What's going on, Aces? Welcome back to the channel, everyone. I hope that you are enjoying your Monday. Prayers and sincere condolences to the Warner family because Malcolm Jamal Warner, who was most known for playing Theo Huxtable on The Cosby Show, has passed away. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, life is so precious. He passed away, he drowned on a family trip in Costa Rica. That's heartbreaking. Life is so short and so precious, you guys. Let's go ahead and get into this article from People magazine. It says Malcolm Jamal Warner, who played son Theo, passes away at 54 years old after drowning on a family trip. The actor was in Costa Rica on a family vacation and drowned while swimming, a source confirms to People. A rep for Warner did not immediately respond to requests for comment. The actor played the only son of Bill Cosby and his character Heathcliff Huxtable in the sitcom from 1984 to 1992. In 2023, Warner told the People of the show, "I know I can speak for the cast when I say that The Cosby Show is something that we are still all very proud of. We share a unique experience that keeps us lovingly bonded no matter how much time goes between seeing or hearing from each other." Warner did, however, of course, acknowledge how the show's legacy had changed given the allegations against Cosby, who's 88 years old. You know, when they say that the good pass away young, that is so true. That is so true. Because I've never heard of Malcolm getting involved in any type of foolishness. I've never even heard of him getting a speeding ticket. But let's continue. So Cosby, who 88 was convicted of SA in 2018, but the charge was later overturned in 2021, only for 5 more women to come forward of SA. He says, quote, "Regardless of how some people may feel about the show now, I'm still proud of the legacy and having been part of such an iconic show that has such a profound impact on first and foremost Black culture, but also American culture." He's absolutely right. You know, despite Bill Cosby and all of his shortcomings, that has nothing to do with, Felicia Rashad and, Keisha Knight Pulliam and Tempest Bledsoe and Lisa Bonet and Sabrina, Sandra's last name, LaBouffe, I think that's her name. But the rest of the cast, you know what I mean? That doesn't have anything to do with them. And that show was so iconic. You know, the spinoff, A Different World, they're on tour, or they at least they went on an HBCU tour, the cast from A Different World. And they said that, people still come up to them to this day. They come up to Debbie Allen to this day, right? And says, say that I went to college because I saw myself represented in, Freddie, in Jaleesa, in, Denise, in all these different characters on A Different World. Dwayne Wayne with the flip up glasses and, Ron with his crazy self. But it also spawned the careers of, Jada Pinkett Smith. And just, I could go on and on and on and on about how iconic that show is. Erica Alexander on her podcast, shout out to her, she still talks about, playing Cousin Pam and just how important the Cosby Show was, or still is to this day. So when he says that, absolutely. Oh, my heart is broken, y'all, because I love, even when he played on Malcolm and Eddie, with Eddie Griffin, like I used to love that show as well. So Malcolm and Eddie ran from 1996 to 2000, and Warner was also known for his role Alex Reed on Read Between the Lines. Okay, I never heard of that show. Y'all let me know in the comment section if you've heard of Read Between the Lines, where he starred alongside of Tracy Ellis Ross from 2011 to 2015. More recently, Malcolm Warner had starred in Major Crimes as Chuck Cooper, as Julius Rowe in Suits, and also AJ Austin in The Resident. So see, Malcolm kept a job. Not only was he getting residuals from The Cosby Show, but as we know from, Elvin's character, when he was working at Trader Joe's and somebody tried to blow up his spot, those residual checks weren't hitting like they were once Cosby got convicted. They stopped, the syndication. So he kept a check. I know that's right, booked and busy. 911 and Alert, Missing Persons Unit were among his most recent credits. His latest venture was a podcast titled Not All Hood. Y'all run those podcast numbers up and support the Warner family. I'm so sad. That he launched with two others as a means of breaking down barriers to mental health in the Black community. He says last June he launched the podcast with co-hosts um, Wisui Bakara, I hope I didn't mess up their name, and Candace Kelly. And he told People magazine that it was a space where he could just be his most vulnerable. He says, it's been an interesting experience for me because it's a place where I feel safe enough to be as vulnerable as I allow myself to be. He says, when we talk about the Black community, we tend to speak of it as a monolith, when the reality is we have so many different facets of the Black community. And we wanted to have a space where we could all really explore, discuss, and acknowledge all these different aspects. Warner is survived by his wife and daughter, whose identities he opted to keep private. And you know what? I don't blame him, right? And my heart is broken for his wife and his daughter. So keep his family lifted up in prayer. But Malcolm has always been very, charming, very charismatic. Shout out to the Gordon Gartrell shirt. The Gordon Gartrell shirt is one of my favorite episodes on the Cosby on the Cosby Show. But I remember he dated Regina King for a while. He was just always somebody who had such a stage presence. The iconic anniversary episode where they were singing, Night and Day, and little Rudy was belting out, Night and Day. It was just something that, what a time to be alive, like he came across our screens as someone who, like he said, was vulnerable. He was authentic, he was funny, he was charming, you know, just charismatic. You guys remember that episode where they set up the house and it was Theo and they called it like the real world and he had to pay for everything and his mom ran like a restaurant and like a furniture store, and they were trying to teach him the value of $1. You know what I'm saying? And then Cockroach, shout out to Cole from Martin, but his best friend was right always beside him. I loved that show, and I loved, more importantly, how, like he said, being a Black person in this country, people try to put you in a box, but Black culture is so multifaceted. It's not a monolith. It's beautiful. It's expressive. It's creative. And that's one of the great things that I love, not only on the Cosby Show, right? Because we had Lisa Bonet, who had the crazy styles and the crazy boyfriends. And then we had Tippus Bledsoe's character Vanessa. I love Vanessa. She was always getting in trouble. You know what I mean? Having big fun with the wretched in Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? We had Rudy and Bud. Shout out to Kenny. And her friend Peter, who always came over, was real quiet, but always run out the door. Just, I mean, Sandra and Elvin, Claire had to get Elvin together more than once. And they both, dropped out of Princeton, but they ended up going back and finishing. Just seeing how different all of the Cosby kids were represented on that show, you felt like you could relate to that character, no matter what your demographic was. Like I said, A Different World, that spinoff, so important to the culture. So my heart and my prayers and my thoughts go out to the Warner family, to his wife and his daughter. I hope that they maintain their privacy until they're ready to speak up. And I really hope and pray that, everybody goes and supports his podcast and, just the things that he has going on to help them, whether they, have a GoFundMe or whatever. But this is just, it's so heartbreaking. And I'll say this, he was in Costa Rica at the time. Please be careful, like when you're out traveling. And this is a true story, and not to make anything about me, but I almost drowned overseas in the Caribbean island, and I was, like 19. But the good news is, my mom and my grandmother, even, she came from the Jim Crow South, and she made sure that she was a lifeguard because of them putting chlorine in the pools and not wanting to let Black people learn how to swim. She made it her mission to make sure that not only that she would learn how to swim and be a strong swimmer. She took lessons at the YMCA, but also that her children and her children's children. And so, I followed in her footsteps and became a lifeguard as well. But I got caught up in a riptide, and I'm telling you, I had to swim sideways to get out of it. And I was out farther than I should have been. I was snorkeling, and seaweed got in my snorkel. But anyway, I said all that to say that I'm so grateful, that I learned at an early age to become a strong swimmer. But even if you're the strongest swimmer, always try to have people beside you. Don't be foolish like I was. Go in groups. Have a life jacket on if you need it. I didn't, like I said, at the time, but um, just the safety regulations are a bit different, you know what I mean, in different countries. So I just pray that, water sports and, just swimming and everything can be so fun in the ocean, but it can change at a drop of a dime. Like that riptide came out of nowhere. So I'm so empathetic because I'm just like, those currents can come on strong and just, like I said, just, out of nowhere. So my heart is just so broken for the Warner family. You guys, please be careful out there. Have a great time, but also, be so respectful of the water and the strength of the ocean. Again, please keep the Warner family lifted up in prayer. You guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Please be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. And like I said, if there's a GoFundMe or some kind of way we can support the Warner family, I will let you guys know in an update. But until then, take care of yourselves, you guys. Talk with you later. Bye, Aces.